Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Jimmy Dore Show. I'm here with the miserable liberal, Steph Zamorano.
Hi, Jimmy.
And via Skype, journalist extraordinaire and friend of the show, Michael Tracy is here all the way from Grand Rapids, Michigan today. Hey, Michael.
This is true. Hello again, Jimmy.
All right. So I'm glad we have you on the show today because I want to talk about the new Michigan governor. And, you know, the old Michigan governor, Rick Snyder, was one of the worst governors in the world. And it's just always amazing to me that people vote for people like that. They're just enemy of the people. And, you know, I think the way he handled Flint was criminal. And so they voted out a right-winger and they put in a Democrat. And, well, here's the new headline. She announced her transition team today. And this is from The Intercept. Michigan's Democratic governor-elect puts Blue Cross Blue Shield executive on her transition team after the company funded her campaign. And boy, that was quick. So let's just go through this real fast. So she ran against a guy, Abdul El-Sayed. Is that how you say his name? So he was running to push for Medicare for all, which would essentially put Blue Cross out of business. So he wanted to have Medicare for all. And so Blue Cross goes, well, we're going to fund your opponent because we don't want Medicare for all because we make a lot of money off of people's illness. We're Blue Cross. So they go ahead and fund her. In fact, they did one fundraiser where, well, let's put this. Let me just go right now. So right now, one of her honorary co-chairs is a guy named Daniel Lope, L-O-E-P-P, Lope, the president and CEO of Blue Cross Blue Shield of Michigan. And here's the irony. During the campaign, Gretchen Whitmer, that's her name, her father is Richard Whitmer. He was the former head of Blue Cross Blue Shield in Michigan. And she was defensive against criticisms that she was too close to the health insurance giant. So, and this is what she said. When people would criticize her about being too close with Blue Cross because her father was the head of it, she says, quote, "It's extremely sexist to say that a woman is beholden to her father's former employer." And now she just named the CEO of the company on her transition team. And just so one more thing, Whitmer was hosted at a fundraiser thrown by lobbyists for Blue Cross Blue Shield. She netted $144,000 during a single day at the event. So I don't know what sexism has to do. So that was quick. And this is why people don't vote. This is my theory. This is why people don't vote. They vote for a Democrat to get rid of the corporatist, and then they see, oh my God, there's so Michael, you're in Michigan. What is your reaction to this, and what do you think the people in Michigan's reaction is going to be?
Well, I mean, I think people in Michigan had a legitimate case to vote for whoever the generic Democrat happened to be this time around, given how awful the incumbent Republican was, as you mentioned, so you understand what the motivation there is. But, you know, this incoming governor, like so many elected officials across the country, understood that there was some utility in pretending as though she would be apart and separate from these kind of vested interests in the state who want to exert influence over her in a more corporate-friendly direction. But then once elected, it turns out that the roster of personnel available to her are these kinds of hangers-on and leeches who tend to be predominant in Michigan state politics and state politics elsewhere. So if you want to actually buck those people, you have to go into the job with an understanding that the personnel you surround yourself with, they have to be funneled through a different process than what is typical. You can't just latch on to the same kind of roster of people who kind of circle around Lansing, in Michigan's case, and say, we're just going to wait around and see who gets in, and then we'll kind of mold ourselves to the new political priorities of the incoming administration. You have to actually have a commitment to doing things differently in terms of personnel. And that means looking to different sources for people to staff key parts of your administration, whether it's the transition team or the actual cabinet or so on. And evidently, the governor-elect hasn't done that, which really does not bode well at all for how she'll govern.
You don't. So what? I mean, I really think that this is the problem. I mean, this isn't just the. I don't think this is just the usual. Oh, I'm going to pick the hangers on. And so I think this is just This is the problem. This is the problem. Our elections are run on legal bribery, and then once you get elected, you got to pay back your bribes. You got to they didn't give you that money for nothing, and so again, this is it. I'm sure when she runs again, she won't be as popular because of stuff like this. Well, we'll see. Of course, it's 4 years away, but I mean, that's why Hillary Clinton couldn't get people to come out and vote for her, because they knew who she was. They knew she was a corporatist in Michigan. They knew she was a corporatist in Wisconsin, and they'd already been hurt by her corporatism. So, and then
and the people that you put on your transition team, especially, because sometimes it's more a ceremonial position than anything else. Sometimes it's influential, but what it is principally is a means of rewarding your supporters. So if this is who she's choosing to reward, that tells you a lot about what her legislative priorities would be, what her priorities would be in terms of running the executive branch. So it really is a big insight into how she'll operate. And so that's why it's worth paying attention to.
Jimmy, you pointed out that she said that it's a gender bias that you're assuming that I'm going to be
sexist. She said sexist,
right? Well, it's interesting to find out that according to TruthDig, in the Blue Cross is the largest insurer in that state,
in
right?
Michigan. Mm-hmm.
And they requested that 8,100 employees support Whitmer for governor, and they sent them a letter. And based on your position in the company, they gave you a suggested amount to donate.
So those are legal bribes. That's coordinated legal bribes. And now she has to pay that back.
And the letter was signed by the Blue Cross executives, but paid by the Whitmer campaign.
So I mean, this is why we can't have nice things, because they're completely corrupted. And as Chris Hedges says, they do it right out in the open. They cheat right in your face. They steal right out in broad daylight, and they don't care. Like when Barack Obama came back into public life, he didn't come back into public life to go build a house with Jimmy Carter, or to go make sure the people in Flint got taken care of, or to go see that oil spill up at DAPL. He came back into public life to give speeches for banks and the Carlyle Group and hedge funds. I mean, and right out in the open, his first public act back in public life was to do that. I mean, they don't care. And so this idea, I mean, again, it's better to have her than Rick Snyder, no doubt about it. But this is their people are getting ready for another corporate screwing over health care. And it's the number one issue right now. And both parties are in bed. And, this idea that there was going to be a blue wave, and there isn't. And this is why there isn't a blue wave, because the Democrats don't frickin' stand for anything. And they're in bed with the people they're supposed to be opposing and the people they're supposed to be dismantling. I mean, what do you think about just can I get your general on the midterms, Michael? Because the way we feel here at this show is that of all the House candidates, the Democrats successfully primaried two corporate Democrats. Two, Joe Crowley and Ayanna Pressley beat her. I forget the guy's name, but he was pretty left anyway. Well, he did take corporate
Capuano.
Yeah. So everyone says he was pretty left, but he did end up.
Capuano wasn't a corporate Democrat. He probably took some corporate money at some point. But Capuano in particular, he was at the forefront of Iraq war opposition. He took some pretty solid positions over the years. And replacing him with Ayanna Pressley, I don't know if that's a progressive triumph necessarily. But you're right. There were only two incumbents that were defeated at all, which is the same number of Republican incumbents that were defeated. So if you want to use that as a criteria for a wave, or at least kind of like insurgent fervor the Democrats were supposed to have, there wasn't a whole lot. I mean, in terms of the broader question of whether or not there was a wave. I mean, I think there are different ways to answer the question. I mean, I'm from New Jersey originally, and there's only going to be one one Republican representing the entire state of New Jersey, it looks like, come next year. And if you look at the map from 2014 to 2016 to 2018, there's kind of a whole lot of red in New Jersey, and now there's going to be not a whole lot. So there's only now one district that's red. So that looks a little blue wavy for New Jersey in particular. So I think there was a wave in certain regions. New Jersey got hit extraordinarily by the Republican tax bill, and that caused a lot of Republican incumbents to get thrown out. The district that I grew up in, the 11th district, was represented by a Republican since before I was born, and now a Democrat is going to be representing that district, which is relatively affluent suburban district. So for me, that kind of has the impression of a wave, because it's a seat that was long thought to be totally off limits for Democrats, now being won actually overwhelmingly by a Democrat by double digits. Although the Democrat who won is Mickey Sherrill, who is this woman who's a former prosecutor. So it's hard to get excited about a wave when a lot of candidates who were recruited who were successful were prosecutors, people who were steadfastly center left, who appealed to suburban voters on the basis that they weren't any outside the mainstream at all, very boring and very conventional. Another candidate who was successful, who I covered a lot, was this woman in Michigan who won, who was a former CIA officer and a former Defense Department official. So yeah, I mean, if those are the people being ushered in by the wave, I find it a little. I'm not going to be dancing to the Wipeout song. You ever heard that song? I'm not going to get on the beach and start doing a dance to that because of CIA officials in Iraq. This woman in Michigan, who won, and I'm forgetting her name now for some reason, but she actually touted the fact that she advised George W. Bush on the Iraq War surge in 2007, which was the deadliest year for U.S. military in Iraq. So she ran television commercials with her posing with George W. Bush in the Oval Office. Literally, I mean, this is what she ran on. She said that she didn't support marijuana legalization, which actually did pass in Michigan. So with these types of candidates, it's a little difficult to call it a wave in a sense that everybody should be overjoyed with how they're going to actually govern.
Yeah, no, that's the problem. It's like,
but Democrats did win in a lot of important areas. I mean, they're probably going to come away with 37 seats gained. I mean, that's a lot. They won even in. There was one of the most amazing seats that they got was in Oklahoma City, which had been represented by this district that had been controlled by the Republicans since 1975, when Democrats. So when you have historic shifts like that in certain areas, that has a feeling of being a wave. Candidates that did not get ushered in by the wave were, unfortunately, a lot of the Justice Democrat endorsed candidates, a lot of the Democrats that progressives were excited about, like Jess King in Pennsylvania lost handily. Other examples along those lines. I mean, a lot of those candidates actually did not win. And then another irony is that the handful of candidates that the national media focused on, so Gillum, Abrams, O'Rourke, they all happened to lose. And that kind of obscured a larger kind of shift toward the Democrats in lots of other places that didn't happen to have as much national attention. So it's kind of like a mixed bag. I'm not that confident that the Democrats are going to do a whole lot. I mean, maybe they can do some oversight that's going to be useful, but I don't know. I would be dancing on the beach about the blue wave if I felt that the candidates who were actually elected were worthy of celebration, but
Well, you know what?
not many of them were.
Well, I'll tell you this. I wouldn't be surprised if what Nancy Pelosi touts as a victory of compromise and being a legislator and somebody who could cut a deal, I would not be surprised if one of the deals she cuts is to fund the wall. Because
I think it's possible.
They already cut that deal once before. They already offered that to Trump already, and even Raul Gravalia was bragging about it. We've offered to pay to fund the wall. It's the craziest thing. I don't know what the Democrats are going to do. I know Nancy Pelosi is not going to do anything progressive. And she already announced PAYGO is going to be the thing she wants to do. And, I mean, it doesn't matter because Trump is president and what have you, but it's even Peter what's that guy's name? Peter Dow. I refer to him as Peter Douche. Peter Dow, who we all know at this show, being a rabid Hillary Clinton defender to the point of, mentalness, he tweeted out, the Democratic Party needs new leadership. That guy said that. So...
well, I mean, look at one of my favorite statistics to point out, which makes Democrats really angry, but I don't care, is that the average age of the incoming House Democratic leadership is 78.3 years old. Pelosi, Steny Hoyer, and Jim Clyburn all three are either 79 or 78 years old. And by the way, the CIA incoming representative in Michigan, her name is Alyssa Slotkin. So,
okay,
apologize for that. But keep an eye on her. She's a rising star.
Yeah, she's a rising star in the wrong way. But you know what they did? We talked about that. There's lots of CIA people that were running as Democrats. It's like they recruited them. So anyway, well, listen, Michael, thank you for lending your insight all the way from Grand Rapids, Michigan. Everybody, check out Michael Tracy on Twitter, and we look forward to having you back on the show.
All right, thanks a lot, Jimmy.
Our next live Jimmy Dore show is February 1st in Burbank, California. Go to jimmydorcomedy.com for a list of all our live shows, and please become a premium member if you can. Become a patron. It's the way we support this show because they're coming at us, and we give you bonus. We give you hours of bonus material every week. Check it out. Become a patron. And if you can, make sure you're still subscribed. They unsubscribe people every day. I know it sounds crazy. It only takes a second. Please make sure and click that bell when you subscribe so they'll send you a notice when we drop a video. Thanks for your support.